Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Foreign Fusion. Today we have something so African to talk about. We are getting into what makes us Africans.
Mm.
Yes,
African identity.
African identity.
African
You
identity.
asked me a question earlier on. Yes, do you care to, ask that question, and let's start from there.
Okay. Before asking you,
Yeah.
having been in several regions of the continent, you realize that the concept of African identity differ from one place to the other.
Not from one person to the other?
No. Not necessarily one person, but from one place to the other. You find some places where I will not name, but when you go there, they tell you that, for instance, we are not African. They will tell you that.
Okay.
Tell you, no, we are not African.
On the African continent?
Yes, on the African continent. And when you go to other places, and they will tell you, okay, we are not black.
Okay.
And then you go to some places and they will tell you that, oh, this is who we are. And it bothered me a little bit because I sat and then I asked myself, so if we are on one continent, but everybody
identifies as something different.
So what is an African identity? Who is an African really? Who can claim and who can say that is an African? Is an African somebody who has a darker pigmentation than everybody else? Or is an African somebody who behaves or looks this way or belongs to this tribe? Or is an African? There are some places where you actually even have people who are maybe issued from racial marriage and they don't want to associate or they don't want to be put in a certain box. They want to claim an identity for themselves. But in the very end, that's my question is, what is an African? What is African identity? What is the one thing that we can all sit and agree upon and say, we are all this. Okay. We are all this. In spite of our differences, we really are this. Okay. And I'm bringing this also because there was recently here there was a brawl, in an African Cup of Nations where Congo was playing Morocco, and then it turned into something completely different in the end, which was I think racial.
Profiling.
Yeah, racial profiling, racial insult and stuff like that. But then this was a tournament that was supposed to bring the African continent together. So it begs the question. So I really want to know, do we have that one thing, that one line that unites all of us, and we can use it to maybe, it's a one root that can grow into a tree and then bring branches of unity? Or are we really just who we are by word of by mouth, by what we're saying, but not what we really mean? And this is why I don't like the concept of calling each other my brother, my sister. Okay. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but the reason why I don't like or I don't subscribe to that is because there is so much fake in that. People will call you, oh, my brother, my sister.
But not necessarily meaning that.
Not necessarily meaning that. And then they are the very first people that if things don't work out a certain way, they will depart from you, or they will be the ones sinking your ship. You have Europeans or Westerners, you never hear them talking about my brother, my sister. You never hear a French saying, Ukraine, my brother's from Ukraine, my sister's from Ukraine. They don't do and claim such things, but when it's time for action,
they do stand up for each other.
They do stand up for each other. So, what is an African? I don't know. What is your concept of being an African, really?
I think when you go far and think about what we have grown up to see. It has been based on the color of our skin. But I believe that it's way beyond that. It's our cultures binding us together. Even with the food that we eat, the things that we believe in, the common beliefs that we have makes us Africans. Our history makes us Africans. We are in a continent that we said was divided for us, and that could mean that the isolation that maybe sometimes we feel. But when you talk about being Africans, is it only the color of our skin? Is it only our cultures? Is it only the beliefs that we have? What exactly unites us as Africans? That is something that we need to find the solution to.
I mean, it's great. Thank you for what you're saying there, but we can't seem to find a common ground.
But is there a common ground apart from our?
This is why we're having this conversation.
The color of our skin.
What is this common ground? Because if we talk about belief, some part of Africa are into Christianism, and others are into Islamism, and others are into African practices, like the traditional, yes,
beliefs.
And others are agnostics. So every single region you go has its own kind of like belief.
Okay.
So you can
but
tell
they
that
all
based on
believe in
that.
one God, don't you think?
Well, agnosticism
Not
means
really.
like there is no God,
Okay.
and it's just me walking on the earth. So now with all that, you can tell already that our beliefs do not really bring us together. So we identify, if we use that to identify ourselves,
Then it means we are not, we don't have something in common to
yes.
believe in. Okay.
And then now, even when you go again deeper down the layer of this carpet, and then you say, but what about our skin tone? Maybe what does a true African look like, or who is a real African? If you go with the skin tone, you will also be wrong.
Black? You have to be brown. Because lately I've heard the description of brown. Yeah, it used to be black people, but now I actually heard on the news recently where a presenter described, some people as black and brown skin people. So in my thoughts, I'm like, okay, since when do we describe people as brown people? Are we all not black people? How do you differentiate between black and brown people? Does your skin has to look a little lighter to be brown?
Where do I rank?
Yes, where do I fit in?
Where do I fit in?
Yeah.
So, like within your spectrum of what expected. This is again what I'm saying here. So, if you have to go by color, so does that mean that somebody from Sudan is more African than me?
Yeah.
Because he has a darker shade than I. Or does that mean that somebody from the Maghreb, does that mean that they are not African because their skin tone is? Who is African?
Yeah.
And you have a family where there is mixed interracial people.
Interracial children.
Does that mean that the children issued from interracial marriage are different from the ones that are not? Are they not member of the same family? Are they not African? So with that, the concept is a little bit complicated because then we cannot find that common thread to use and say, I'm an African because I share this with the whole continent.
Yeah.
The only thing that basically link us together is just the piece of land, and if you remove that, I don't think there's an African identity,
Okay. And speaking of interracial marriages and interracial children, do you think someone can stand out to say, I'm an interracial child, but I identify as white or black?
Well, for me first, the race thing is a social construct.
Okay.
To say that these ones are superior, these ones are inferior, this one are this and this and that. But also...
no, I was asking in terms of preference.
Yes, I'm getting to that point.
Okay.
I think, I will say inter-ethnic, interracial, whatever. You cannot deprive somebody from is other half, obviously, You cannot say that, you've had a child, or you've had somebody, or you are with somebody who has two different origins, and then you force them to say, you must identify with this or else.
I mean, here is the case where wherever you go, whatever form you fill, you've been asked to choose one.
And
so
that
what
is
do
the
you
problem.
choose?
I think that's in itself already is an issue, because then it forces people to choose something.
Yeah.
And at times they might not be comfortable
With
choosing,
what they're choosing.
But I also think that, there has been an established concept that has lasted hundreds of years, in which, for instance, I think it's called the one drop law or something like that.
No, I'm not sure about
Yes, I think it is called something like that, where, if you have one drop, let's say you are a Westerner, you're a European, and then you have one drop of blood that is from somewhere else, you cannot identify as a European. It's a very, it's an interesting topic, but if you have to expand on that, I think it goes beyond our ability to grasp just
what it really means.
Yeah, what it really means, because that one, you involve the whole human race.
Yeah.
It involves the whole human race. And I think it's quite a sensitive topic, but at the very same time as well, it has to be dissected, But again, people have a sense of, seek a sense of belonging somewhere.
Yeah.
And you cannot
we are
deprive
human
them.
beings,
Yes,
and
you want
that's
to
what we do. We want to belong somewhere.
Exactly.
So yeah.
If you want to belong somewhere, I don't think you should be,
Deprived
of that.
But do you have to choose? Do you have to choose? Can you not belong to, both races
Can you
if are
fit in
an
both races?
I think society has made us, in a way that we are not able to have the choice of having both. It's almost like you have to choose one or the other. Yeah.
Yes, I do understand. And I was actually speaking to a lady, I think she's late now, but it was in South Africa. She's late, so she was telling me she was in her 90s when she passed on. She was telling me a story, that her grandfather was from Norway.
Okay.
From Norway. Imagine Norway. That was in the 90s, before, in South Africa. So the grandfather from Norway, based on what she was telling me, not based, it's a story, so it's a life story. I've met the family, so I know what she's talking about. So the family, the man from Norway married a local woman, or had children with a local woman. And then they had obviously mixed race babies.
Yeah.
And then in the pool of the children that they had some married Europeans and others married African, black, or whatever you choose to call it. So then what happened was, a few years later on, there was a law in South Africa, an apartheid law that was passed, where people had to be segregated, according to where they belong. And this is a family that was united, but because of that, they had to be split.
Yeah.
And then she had cousins. She came from the black side of the family.
Yeah.
And then she had cousins, obviously aunties, who married European, who had white-looking children that went on the white side of the family. And they used to be united, but because of that, they
have to be
parted ways.
separated. Wow.
They had to be separate, and then those that went on the white side really went. They're like, okay.
They forgot about the...
Yes, and she was telling me, I think one thing that pained her the most was that they did not even come at funerals of other siblings, and then some of them ended up going to even change name to adopt much more
white.
Yes,
Okay.
white names. So because they were forced to change, to choose. And yes, when you force people to choose, there will always be a losing side and a winning side. Those who will get preferential treatment as opposed to those who will not. So this is why I'm saying I don't think it's good to force people into choosing. But again, I think society expects you to do just that. And I understand that it's quite a painful thing to do, because then you try to see where you belong, and then you try to also make sure that you're at peace with your decisions, but in the very same time, you are fragmented from within.
Yeah.
You see, that is it. And this is again coming back to our conversation. This is what so many of us feel as African, because we don't know what makes us African. Is it the skin tone? Is it the religious belief? Is it the land? Is it this and that? Because whatever you pick, there will always be an opposite side to your
Does it make better sense when, let's say, both parents are from two different African countries?
Yes and no, and neither does it make sense, or neither it makes sense. What am I saying? Sorry. Yes and no, it makes sense, but I would say it's not just about African, it's about the whole world, Let's say you marry in Germany, you're an African, and your child is half German and half African, depending on the country you come from, but, there's always a struggle. There's always a struggle, and then the racial concept will always be there. Even when we're gone, when we've departed, there will be something else. In 2,000 years ago, there was Roman and there was the rest of the world. It's either you are Roman or you are just the others. You see, so that already was a segregation, because you had like those and then the rest. And then it will not stop even when we've gone. But the point is, we have to, as human beings, understand that at some point, people just want to be people.
Yeah.
They don't want to be policed on what they look like or what they sound like, or what they just want to be people.
Yeah.
And if we maybe can stop boxing them and let them just be, they will be more than happy to.
But are we capable of doing that? Because it seems like at every point in our lives, someone had to be on one side of something, no matter what the situation is.
I think we are capable if we want to, but we cannot do that because it doesn't work to our advantage.
Systems and in place.
Let me put it for you. Let me put it in perspective for you. Let's say you are Ghanaian, and I come to Ghana, and then they're saying that this is only for Ghanaian, and not for foreigners. When I was in Ghana, I was told that I had to get a Ghana card, and a Ghana card was about like 1,200 cedi, all right, for foreigners, and for Ghanaians it was about 200 cedi. So you can tell that it's working to the Ghanaians' advantage, and it doesn't work for me. But if it suits you, do you really care about me?
Which I think we should care.
But would you care enough to say, no, charge us the same, I'm going to pay 1,200 cedi as well?
Well, if I'm a foreigner.
No, you are a Ghanaian. You're paying 200, and then now a foreigner pays 1,200. Would you go and
say? So who is paying the 2,000 and who is paying 1,200?
No, 200. You as a Ghanaian, you pay 200 Ghana cedi, and then I am a foreigner, pay 1,200.
Okay.
But then now, it suits you because you pay less.
Yeah.
But you don't really care about me because I'm a foreigner and whatever I pay, it's just that. So remember, the choice here has been made for you and it works to your advantage.
It favors me.
And it favors you, and I don't think you care a dime what happens to me. You won't care to say that it's not fair, right? And then you will also agree and say, because it's paid 1,200, I'm also going to pay 1,200. You will not agree.
No.
You cannot bear the cost of what it takes to be me.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying that it's going to be impossible. As long as people have choices, those who benefit will rather keep quiet and let the one languishing collapse behind.
Which seems to be like the world that we live in right now.
It is, but it's more tangible in Africa than it is anywhere else. That is the sad part. And remember, I said it again, they will call you my brother.
Yeah.
But deep down inside,
you are really not.
You're not.
I think a while back, calling someone my brother, my sister really meant something. I feel like now.
It never really did.
Really, because remember, for me, or maybe it depends on the individual.
Yes,
it depends on the individual. Because for me, when I call you my brother, then you are my brother.
You adopt them as that.
Exactly. And coming to South Africa from Ghana, even if I saw a Nigerian, provided so far as we are from the same region, like I feel the sense of brotherhood, the sense of sisterhood, and that meant something to me. That made me happy just to see people from that part of the continent,
But I can tell you something quickly. You find unity in the fact that you came from the same region. That is because you are out of it, and then you start finding common ground, and But again, if you go back 30 years or 40 years ago, Nigerians were at odds with Ghana to the point where Ghanaians were sacked out of Nigeria like animals.
Yeah.
I've seen the footage. But we got to talk about this because these conversations are therapeutical.
Exactly.
And as hard as it is to acknowledge that, you have to speak of it because it's their hard, pain truth.
Yeah.
They were sacked like animals.
Tell us the story. What
you
was
don't
it
know
like?
the story.
What was it like?
I don't remember already the president at the time of Nigeria. But, I think, he was also maybe a bit of a populist also. But, the thing with African countries is, when things are not working, we try to find a scapegoat. That is us.
You try to find someone to blame for why it's not working.
Yes. We never really want to look into why it failed. But
taking responsibility. Okay.
That's what we,
Okay.
like if the power goes now.
Someone did this.
Who did this?
Someone to blame.
But not to find out what could have caused the power to trip. We are not like that. Unfortunately, I have to say it, but it's the honest truth. We look for scapegoats.
And we've seen that in so many countries.
Every single country that has collapsed or things are not going well, you find people blaming,
Unfortunately, I'm sure people will say that it happens in the European countries as well, but we are Africans. And we can only speak on the things that
we have lived and we know.
Exactly. So
back to Nigeria there, so they felt that Nigeria was going on the wrong way and things were really not going well. So short story, they were like all the Ghanaians pack up.
So they believed that whatever that was going on was as a result of Ghanaians being there.
Yeah, but then now, these Ghanaians, if you watch the footage, they were on trucks. Just imagine some of them married local, had children that they had to go. And I've seen it because I met some friends of mine in Cape Coast who are like half Nigerians and half Ghanaians. So they tell me this story like, no, we came here with our father. Our father, so our mother also came and then she went back to Nigeria, like stuff like that. So this was uprooting a community that established itself. It was quite a dark time for Africa, for Nigeria, right, to do something like that. But they did it without even thinking twice that, as you say now, that you look and say, they are my brother, they are my sisters. They did it and then gone. All the wealth and things you left behind were left behind.
You have to start from scratch.
There. And then it was not an easy way back.
Yeah.
It wasn't an easy way back, but then they made it. But going back again, Ghana did the very same thing as well in 1969. I think 68 or 69, where they also, things were not working, and then they decided to expel Nigerian from Ghana.
Okay.
Now, the question that I'm going to ask is, as we are so good at finding scapegoats instead of fixing the problem, when Nigeria sacked all the Ghanaians from Nigeria, did it make Nigeria better?
Maybe not.
It never did. It never did. Historical facts are there. When Ghanaian did the very same thing, did it do that? It never did.
No.
We did the very same thing in the Congo as well. amongst tribes, like in two different regions.
Yeah.
And the people, the owner of the land, calling the others rabbit. He says, you guys are rabbits. You wherever it's green, you go. Bilulu, it was called. So, and we have to say these things. It's painful, but you have to say it, and then you have to own up to it. They butchered, killed, expelled, whatever. I know a woman who was married to a local person, and she was from the other tribe.
Yeah.
And the guy was actually joined the militia of those who are expelling. But how do you want to expel a tribe from which your wife is from?
It's from.
And then she had to she had to run away from Congo with her 2 children from this man.
Wow.
And then she ended up settling in South Africa.
Wow.
So imagine people are pushed to the point that and we sever the ties, even the ones that unite us by marriage or by bonding brotherhood.
And it ends up having a negative effect on the children and the people that are so innocent.
It does.
In this whole situation.
It does. And again, when you think of that, you call brother and sister, we do that, but there will be that one thing that if it's brought up,
that breaks that bond.
It will break the bond without thinking twice. And that is just what we have dealt with all these years. And sadly,
it doesn't seem like it's ending anytime.
It's never ending because we are not learning from our past.
Yeah.
And again, that is putting back again in question what we speak of here, African identity. What makes us African? What is that one thing?
Can we really grab?
We grab it and then we say we're building from here.
Can we really do that?
Day, we will go, but we will go with this thread. And then, no, I don't think we can. Because it's as hard as it is already to have 2 Africans sit in one room and agreeing on almost everything.
Yeah.
Imagine how hard it is to get the whole continent of 55 states with hundreds of ethnic groups and tribal whatever
come
things.
Together to agree on something.
I don't see it coming, but I can only pray and hope that we can look beyond that,
Yeah. It's been such a pleasure.
Well, as always.
I've learned so much today.
So have I.
I've really learned so much.
So have
I actually didn't know much about, the Ghana must go thing.
Oh, you didn't?
I know about the story, but not vividly to the points that you.
Yeah. I think I will invite you to do some research on that.
Yeah. We have to.
Yes, I one thing I have done.
Yeah.
I'm really studying. And I'm still studying. I will study it my whole life. I'm studying conflicts in Africa. And some of these conflicts will make you sit in awe.
What prompted this though? Why did you want to study conflict?
Well, it's not the subject that I'm doing as in it's out of curiosity. I'm very curious.
Understand.
Yes, I want to understand. And remember, as I travel a lot, so I want to really understand.
Get into the minds of people.
People. I'm telling you, look at Cameroon, the Cameroon crisis.
Yeah.
Yes, we can't go in depth into what it is really about. We can't, because there is so much more. But to sum it all up, you have Anglophone and Francophone, English-speaking Cameroon and French-speaking Cameroon. English-speaking Cameroon want to break away from the French-speaking Cameroon because they think they are Anglophone. And then these ones want them to stay because obviously, it's one Cameroon, but these are French people. So it is deeper than what we're saying here, but I just want to elevate this debate to a little bit further. To say that, Anglophone, you're not an English person. That's not who you are, right?
That was brought to you. It's not something that...
You're not English, you are not French.
So what are you?
You are who you were set to be. Before 1885, who were you? You guys lived in peace. You guys were just one people.
You were yourselves.
So now all of a sudden you are choosing sides of the countries and say, and we want to make our own.
Or something that you never belonged to in the first place.
Something you inherited. we are fighting over things that we have inherited that are not even ours by default. You have Congo Brazzaville and Congo Kinshasa. These ones are French and these ones are Belgian, and then you have in the South Angola. But you are one bloody people.
Exactly.
You are the same people. You speak the same. If you remove the English, the French, and all that, you speak the normal local language, and you communicate
And that
yourself.
makes you one people.
One people.
But here is the case that, you know, something that was imposed on you, you decided to identify with that and fight the people that you call your brothers and sisters over.
Because
which
now there's a border here.
It does not make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Which doesn't make sense.
It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But you find these kind of conflicts, not per se conflicts, but divisions all over Africa. Because remember when it was carved, when the continent was carved, it was not carved according to ethnic lines. It was just carved here, based on the interest. So you have people who fall on the other side of the border, and their brothers and sisters on the other side, and then they are forced to have different nationalities.
Yeah.
Whilst they are the same people.
Yeah.
When you come to Kinshasa, you are in Kinshasa. Literally, you can look at Congo Brazzaville, and you have families that live across the waters.
Oh.
Yes, you do.
So you have family living on opposite sides of the border.
You do. You actually do.
So if you want to go like home, what do you do?
That's the thing. The thing is, this is Kinshasa, this is Brazzaville, and let's say, for instance, you have your sister, who's married in Brazzaville, and they have kids, right? Or your father had children here, and then he has children in Brazzaville. Now, these ones in Brazzaville call themselves from Congo Brazzaville, and then they call you from Congo Kinshasa. But
that doesn't make sense.
You understand what I'm saying? All that because of, it's not even a border, it's just a river that flows between the two. And then now we are from this side and you are from there.
Wow.
And it's the same family. You find out it's the same name.
So that's what colonialism did to us.
That's what colonialism did to us. It fragmented our
family relationships and almost
our ethnic bond
and foundation.
And then it also fragmented our minds, because now we think that we are different, but we are the same people. And then we don't want to use that, I think, that again, sorry for using it, common thread to say, I am Makafu. In Brazzaville, I have a sister by the name of Kafu. Our family goes beyond
the river,
the two countries. You cannot call me Congolese from here and then Congolese from there. And
we are Congolese.
We are Congolese. We are the same people.
Yeah.
So, but again, remember I said, when people are forced to choose, they choose what works for them. So if it works for your sister there, she'll be like, no, I'm from Brazzaville.
What if it doesn't work for her and she wants to come back, then she has to move?
And we never seem to learn or understand that we need to unite or find something that can bring us together. Football has failed because, religion has failed to bring us together.
As the color of our skin
has failed. Because, and I don't know, it's crazy.
Let's hope culture and sense of Ubuntu can bring us together.
Bomoto. That's what they call in Congo.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Which is Ubuntu, in South Africa.
It's Bomoto.
Bomoto. That sounds similar, isn't it?
Yes, it does, because it's the same, they call it Bantu.
Bantu, okay.
Yeah. It's from South Africa all the way to Cameroon. It's the same people.
Yeah.
As in one clan that spread into so many. They call the Bantu clan.
The Bantu clan.
Yeah, it's a clan. Yeah, it's a clan.
Okay.
Bantu. So it gave birth to all this.
Yeah.
All the way here. So as much as you do not want to agree, there it is.
There you have it, people. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the education. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for sharing your experiences with me. I really appreciate, and I pray and hope that our viewers will also appreciate
and also share their views with us.
Yes.
Tell us your
Yes.
stories as
Yeah.
well, and what you think makes us Africans, makes us one people.
What is that one thing that you
Yeah.
believe that makes us all African, that we can
Africans.
agree upon?
Yeah,
We can disagree upon everything else, but to say that this
that particular thing
makes
unites
us
us as Africans.
Yeah,
We would really like to know.
you do. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.